Awakened. The thing about becoming a zombie is that nobody tells you how much clearer everything becomes. Colors sharper, sounds crisper. The thundering pulse of human blood like a symphony I'd never noticed before. And rage. Crystal clear, purifying rage at the man currently sprinting away from a horde of the undead, my boss, Evan Chase, who still owed me for 63 hours of unpaid overtime. I watched him vault over a concrete barrier with the grace of someone who'd never had to choose between groceries and rent. Even fleeing for his life, Evan Chase was unfairly beautiful, all sharp cheekbones and dark hair falling across his forehead. Expensive suit, somehow still pristine despite the apocalypse. He paused to lift a small boy over a chain-link fence. The child's mother sobbed her thanks. That's when I saw it. A zombie lurching toward Evan from his blind spot, jaw unhinged, fingers grasping. My body moved before my brain caught up. I didn't know I could move this fast. The world blurred. Wind screamed past my ears. I slammed into the zombie with enough force to send it flying 15 feet into a parked car. Evan spun, fist already raised in some probably expensive self-defense stance he'd learned at his probably expensive gym. Then he saw me. His dark eyes went wide, the fist froze, his mouth opened, closed, opened again. And then I'd never seen this before in 3 years of working for him, his eyes filled with tears. "Lucy," he whispered, and the sound of my name in his voice did something strange to my undead heart. Time seemed to stop. I saw shock ripple across his face, then something deeper. Grief? Regret? His hand trembled as it lowered. I should run. I should hide. I definitely shouldn't still be standing here while my boss processed the fact that his assistant had become one of the shambling monsters currently ending civilization. But zombification had apparently destroyed my sense of self-preservation, along with my need for sleep, because I just stood there, staring back. Evan swallowed hard. Then, in a move that made absolutely no sense, he stepped forward and pulled me into his arms. His embrace was tight, almost desperate. His designer cologne, something woody and expensive that I'd spent 3 years pretending not to notice, filled my heightened senses. His chin rested on top of my head. "I'm sorry," he breathed into my hair. "God, Lucy, I'm so sorry." His pulse pounded against my cheek. His blood sang to me, warm and vital and maddeningly close to the surface. The zombie part of my brain screamed to bite, to drink, to feed. The human part, surprised to find it still existed, whispered, "He's holding you like he's been wanting to for a long time." I could smell his skin, feel his heartbeat, hear the rush of blood through his arteries. My mouth watered, my jaw ached, so I bit him. The taste of him exploded across my tongue, copper and salt, and something uniquely Evan, rich, complex. Infinitely better than the break room coffee I'd spent 3 years perfecting to his exact specifications. This is for the 63 hours of overtime, I thought with each pull. For the performance review where you docked me half a point because my email signatures weren't on brand. For making me redo the Jacobson proposal 18 times and then choosing the first version. For having perfect cheekbones while I've been living on ramen. For looking at me like that just now and making me feel things I definitely shouldn't feel. When I finally pulled away, Evan swayed on his feet. His skin had gone pale, his breathing shallow. The bite mark on his neck was already turning dark at the edges. I belched, actually belched, loud and graceless, right there in the apocalypse. 3 years of professional decorum destroyed. And I felt amazing. Evan's lips twitched. Even half-drained and dying, the man looked amused. "Finished eating, my little assistant?" His voice was rough, deeper than normal. I blinked, focused on his face. His eyes were starting to glow green at the edges. "Oh, hell. Chapter 2. You can talk?" I blurted. Evan raised one perfect eyebrow, a gesture I'd seen him use on incompetent executives and interns who couldn't work the coffee machine. "You can talk?" We stared at each other. A zombie stumbled past us, groaning. It ignored us completely, fixated on a distant scream. Around us, the city burned. Car alarms wailed. Somewhere, a child cried. But Evan and I stood in our own bubble of bizarre calm. 2 conscious zombies in a sea of the mindless dead. "How are you?" I started. When did you, he said simultaneously. We both stopped. The corner of Evan's mouth lifted in something that might have been a smile if he wasn't actively turning into an undead creature. You first, I said. Evan looked down at himself. Expensive suit, torn, tie askew, neck ravaged by bite marks that were now spreading dark veins down his throat. He touched his neck gingerly. I should be mindless, he said, more to himself than me. The infection rate is 99.3%. Conscious zombies are theoretically possible but statistically improbable. Unless... He trailed off, eyes unfocusing, in that way they did when he was processing data. I'd seen it 1,000 times across the conference table. Unless what? Evan's gaze snapped back to me, suddenly sharp. How long have you been conscious? Since I woke up as a zombie. Maybe 6 hours? And before that? Do you remember being bitten? I tried to think back. The memories were hazy, dreamlike. Running through the office building, the power cutting out, screaming, and then nothing. Just waking up on the street with an overwhelming hunger, and the certain knowledge that I was no longer human. No, I admitted. Evan stepped closer. With his new height advantage, or had he always been this tall, he had to tilt my chin up to examine my eyes. His fingers were cool against my skin. Your pupils are responsive, he murmured. Cognitive function clearly intact. Speech centers operational. Motor control excellent. That tackle was remarkably precise. Are you diagnosing me? I'm trying to understand why we're different. His thumb brushed my cheekbone absently, and I fought the urge to lean into the touch. Why we're conscious when they're not. A groan echoed nearby. We both turned to see a cluster of zombies shambling toward a barricaded storefront where survivors huddled. Evan's hand dropped from my face. I felt the loss of it. We should move, he said. Somewhere secure. I need equipment, data access. The office building, I suggested. Chase Pharmaceuticals has backup generators. The lab should still be functional. Evan looked at me, and something flickered in his expression. Surprise? Approval? Good thinking. He started walking, and I fell into step beside him. Just like always, Evan striding confidently forward, me following half a step behind. Except, now we were both undead, and the city was ending, and he'd just touched my face like it meant something. We'd made it 2 blocks when Evan suddenly stopped. Lucy, yeah? When you bit me. He wasn't looking at me, gaze fixed on the burning skyline. Did you mean to turn me into this? Into a conscious zombie? The question caught me off guard. Had I? In that moment, with his neck exposed and his blood singing to me, what had I wanted? I don't know, I said honestly. I just knew that if anyone was going to bite you, it should be me. Evan turned then, and the look he gave me was impossible to read. Why? Because you're mine, some possessive part of me whispered. Because I've spent 3 years watching other women flirt with you at company events. Because you look at me sometimes like you're seeing someone else, someone better, and I want to be her. Because even now, even like this, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You're my boss, I said instead. It's my job to take care of you. His jaw tightened. Right, your job. Before I could figure out what that meant, a sound echoed through the street, a mechanical whirring that made us both tense. A drone descended from the sky, red light scanning across the rubble. When it spotted us, it stopped, hovering. A voice crackled from its speaker. Subjects identified. Conscious variants detected. Return to origin point for assessment. Assessment? I looked at Evan. What the hell does that mean? But Evan had gone very still, head tilted like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. Evan? That voice, he whispered. I know that voice. The drone's light flashed. Compliance required. Resistance will result in termination. Evan grabbed my hand the first time he'd ever done that and pulled me into a sprint. Run. Chapter 3. We made it to Chase Pharmaceuticals as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire. The building looked different somehow. Maybe it was my enhanced zombie vision. Or maybe the apocalypse had stripped away the corporate veneer. The glass facade was cracked. The rotating sign reading Chase Farm, with half the letters dead. Evan's keycard still worked. We slipped inside, and he immediately locked down the building with a series of codes I'd never seen him use. Security protocol, he explained at my questioning look. In case of biological hazard. You have a zombie apocalypse protocol? We have protocols for everything. He loosened his tie, and I tried not to stare at the way his throat moved when he swallowed. The bite marks had stopped spreading, frozen in dark fractals across his skin. This way. He led me not to the executive offices, but to a private elevator I'd never noticed before. It descended deep underground, my ears popping from the pressure. The doors opened onto a pristine laboratory that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. Sleek equipment hummed with power. Computer screens glowed, and the walls were lined with what looked like medical pods, each one labeled with alphanumeric codes. What is this place? I breathed. Evan walked to the central console and began typing. Backup research facility. Level 5 clearance only. I didn't know we had 5 clearance levels. You didn't have clearance to know. His fingers flew across the keyboard, which was for your own protection before you ask. I wandered through the lab, taking it in. Everything was too clean, too perfect, like it had been waiting for this exact moment. One wall was covered in screens showing different camera feeds, streets, buildings, crowds of zombies, and in one corner, a massive safe, reinforced steel, combination lock, the kind you'd use for nuclear codes. Or, is that safe full of gold? I asked. Evan didn't look up from his screen. No. Then what? Information. He paused in his typing, shoulders tense. Or it should be. I don't actually remember the combination. You don't remember your own safe code? I don't remember a lot of things. His voice had gone quiet. That's part of the problem. Before I could ask what he meant, the screens flickered. New data streamed across them, complex equations, chemical formulas, genetic sequences. Evan leaned closer, reading rapidly. His expression shifted from focused to confused to something that looked almost like fear. That's not possible, he murmured. What's not possible? He pointed to a graph showing infection rates, mutation patterns, consciousness retention. The data was too complex for me to fully understand, but one thing stood out. Every single data point followed the exact same curve. Perfect correlation, mathematical precision. Nature doesn't work like this, Evan said. Biological systems have variation, randomness, chaos. But this, he gestured at the screens, this is programmed. A chill ran through me. Programmed? What are you saying? Evan turned to face me fully, and in his eyes, I saw the same terrible understanding dawning. I'm saying none of this is real. Chapter 4. That's insane, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Evan pulled up more data. Look at the timestamps. The zombie outbreak started at exactly 8:47 a.m. across every time zone simultaneously. That's not how pandemics work. They have patient zero, vectors of transmission, geographic spread patterns. He pulled up another screen. And look at this. The zombies only attack during certain hours, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Perfect business hours. Why would a virus follow a schedule? I thought about my own awakening. How I'd simply opened my eyes as a zombie with no memory of the transformation. How the city looked apocalyptic, but also somehow staged. Too perfect in its destruction. If it's not real, I said slowly, then what is it? A simulation. Evan's fingers flew across the keyboard. An incredibly sophisticated one. The human zombie simulation system. I designed the prototype years ago, but this is far more advanced than anything we built. You designed a zombie simulation for predictive modeling, to understand outbreak patterns, test response strategies. He pulled up a file labeled Project Lazarus. It was supposed to help prevent pandemics, not create one. I moved closer to read over his shoulder, and caught his scent again, that expensive cologne mixing with something new. Something undead but still uniquely him. Focus, Lucy. If this is a simulation, I said, why don't we remember? Why does it feel real? Memory suppression is part of the protocol. Participants enter voluntarily but forget the outside world to preserve immersion. His jaw clenched. But there should be safeguards, ways to exit, emergency protocols. Should be. Someone's modified the system. He pointed to lines of corrupted code. See these alterations? They've locked us in, disabled the exit functions. We're trapped. The word hung in the air between us. Trapped. By who? I asked. Before Evan could answer, alarms shrieked through the building. Red lights flashed. On the security monitors, I saw zombies flooding the lower floors, moving with purpose, coordinated, nothing like the mindless shuffling we'd seen before. They found us, Evan said grimly. But zombies can't organize like that. Not zombies. He pulled up another camera feed, and my breath caught. Leading the horde was a man in a pristine white suit, perfectly styled hair, and a smile that made my skin crawl. Even through the grainy security footage, I could see the intelligence in his eyes. Marcus Ashford, Evan said, and his voice held an emotion I'd never heard from him before. Hatred. Who is he? The man who trapped us here. Evan's hands were shaking as he typed, bringing up blast shields, locking doors. My former mentor, your former advisor, and the person obsessed with controlling your every choice. The pieces started clicking together, why Evan had said Marcus's name with such venom, why this simulation felt personal, why I'd been made a conscious zombie when statistics said it was nearly impossible. He did this for me. He did this to you. Evan grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. Lucy, listen carefully. This isn't the first time we've been through this. Marcus has run this simulation hundreds of times, trying different scenarios, different variables, and every single time you choose. The door exploded inward. Marcus stood in the doorway, flanked by zombie guards, who moved with military precision. Up close, he was handsome in a way that felt manufactured, too symmetrical, too perfect. Evan, he said pleasantly, like we'd bumped into each other at a coffee shop, still trying to be the hero? How tedious. Then his gaze shifted to me, and his smile widened. Hello, Lucy. You're looking lovely today, even as a member of the undead. He stepped closer, and his zombie guards mirrored the movement. Did Evan tell you the truth yet? About who you really are? About why you're so special? I looked between them. What's he talking about? Marcus laughed. Oh, this is delicious. He hasn't told you. 3 years working together, and he's never said the words. Marcus, don't, Evan started. Lucy Chen, Marcus interrupted, voice ringing out. 27 years old, PhD in molecular biology, former research assistant at Chase Pharmaceuticals, and Evan's girlfriend of 4 years. The world tilted. What? Well, in the real world anyway. Marcus examined his nails. In here, Evan plays the cold corporate boss, and you play the overworked assistant. Over and over. Different scenarios. Different relationship dynamics. I keep thinking eventually you'll choose differently. Choose me. But you never do. I looked at Evan. His face had gone carefully blank, but I could see the truth in his eyes. Is it true? I whispered. Lucy, is it true? Yes, Evan said quietly. In the real world, we're together. We have been since graduate school. My mind reeled, memories trying to surface, fragments of another life, coffee dates and late-night lab sessions, Evan's laugh when I made terrible science puns, the feel of his hand in mine. Why didn't you tell me? The simulation suppresses memories to maintain immersion. I only started remembering when we both became conscious zombies. Something about the mutation must have broken through the blocks. He took a step toward me, hands raised like he was approaching a spooked animal. I was trying to figure out how to tell you, how to get us both out safely. How touching, Marcus drawled. But we're past the point of touching reunions. Lucy, you have a choice to make. Come with me. Let me show you what this world could be with someone who truly appreciates you. Or stay with Evan and remain trapped in his version of reality where you're always secondary, always the assistant, never the equal. Don't listen to him, Evan said urgently. Lucy, he's manipulating you. I'm offering truth. Marcus extended his hand to me. I can give you power, position, anything you want. I can make you the queen of this world. All you have to do is choose me. Just once. I looked at his outstretched hand, then at Evan, whose dark eyes held 3 years of hidden feelings, and 4 years of real love, and a desperate hope that I would remember. I don't know what I was to you in the real world, I said slowly. I don't even know if those memories are real or another manipulation. Evan's face fell. But I know who you've been to me here. And now, you've been demanding and exacting, and you've made me work harder than anyone else. I turned to face him fully. You've also been brilliant and kind when you think no one's watching. You look at me sometimes like I'm the only real thing in your world. And when I bit you, you didn't fight back. You held me like you'd been waiting for it. I grabbed Evan's hand. So here's my choice. I choose the truth. And the truth is that even without my memories, even programmed to be your assistant, some part of me knew you were important. Some part of me has been in love with you this whole time. Evan's grip tightened on my hand. Lucy, Marcus's expression darkened. Very well. If you won't choose willingly, I'll simply remove your choice. He snapped his fingers, and the zombie guards surged forward. Evan shoved me behind him. Run! Get to the safe. The combination is your student ID number. I'm not leaving you. You have to. The data in that safe is the only way to shut down the simulation from inside. Please, Lucy. A zombie grabbed his arm. Evan spun, fighting with a grace that spoke of muscle memory from countless previous versions. I ran. Behind me, I heard the sounds of combat. Evan shouting, Marcus laughing, and my own heartbeat, pounding with the certainty that every step away from Evan was wrong, wrong, wrong. But I trusted him. Even now, especially now, the safe loomed before me. I spun the dial with shaking hands. Student ID number. What had Evan said? I was a PhD student, a researcher. The 22nd of March, 2002. My birthday, 201-80322. The safe clicked open. Inside was a computer terminal and what looked like an emergency exit protocol. But also, scattered around it were hundreds of photographs. All of me and Evan. Different versions, different scenarios. In some, I was a doctor. In others, a CEO, a teacher, a soldier. In every single one, Evan was beside me. And in every single one, we were looking at each other the same way, like the other person was the answer to a question we'd been asking our whole lives. In the real-world photos, I recognized them by the different quality. The genuine age we were younger, but the same. Evan with his arm around my waist at a conference. Me laughing at something he'd said. Pure joy on my face. A photo of us in what must have been our apartment. Him reading while I worked on a laptop. Our feet tangled together on the couch. The life Marcus had stolen from us. Hands shaking, I accessed the terminal and found a video file labeled For Lucy, Watch First. I pressed play. Evan's face appeared on screen, but different. Older, tireder, with shadows under his eyes and a desperate edge to his expression. Lucy, his recorded voice said, if you're watching this, it means I failed to protect you. Marcus activated the simulation and pulled you in, and I couldn't stop him. On screen, Evan swallowed hard. I need you to know something. Marcus will tell you I'm controlling, that I keep you small, that you're always secondary in my world. He's wrong. You're not my assistant, you're my partner, in every sense. You have 2 PhDs to my 1. You've published more papers than I have. You're smarter, kinder, and infinitely more patient with my bullshit than I deserve. A sad smile crossed his recorded face. I call you my assistant in these simulations because it's the only way I can stay close to you. Marcus programs the scenarios, and he always makes me powerful, wealthy, important things he thinks you want. But he doesn't understand that what you actually want is someone who sees you as an equal. So I play the boss who secretly relies on you completely. I play the cold executive who's warmer when you're around. I play whatever role lets me be near you while you find your way back to yourself. Tears were streaming down my face now. The code in this terminal will shut down the simulation, recorded Evan continued. But there's a problem. Marcus has set it up so that only one conscious mind can exit at a time. If you leave, I'll be trapped here. If I leave, you'll be trapped. We can't both escape. His voice broke. Choose yourself, Lucy. Please. I'll find another way out. I always do. But you need to survive. You need to get back to the real world and shut this down permanently. Don't let Marcus trap anyone else. The video ended. I stood there, tears falling on the keyboard, understanding finally complete. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Evan appeared in the doorway, battered and bloody but alive. Did you watch it? All of it. Then you know what you have to do. I looked at the exit protocol. One button press, and I'd wake up in the real world. Safe. Free. Alone. No, I said. Lucy, you said only one conscious mind can exit at a time, right? Evan nodded warily. I smiled and pulled out the syringe I'd found in the lab earlier, the one labeled Consciousness Suppression Serum. Then I just need to make sure I'm not conscious when I leave. His eyes widened. Wait, that's not... If I inject this, I'll revert to a mindless zombie. No consciousness means no simulation lock. I held up the exit protocol code. You'll be able to carry me through and we'll both wake up in the real world. You don't understand, Evan said desperately. Once you lose consciousness in the simulation, there's no guarantee you'll wake up outside. You could be trapped as a zombie permanently, here and in reality. I can't risk that. But you can risk staying here forever? Yes! The word burst out of him. Lucy, I've spent 4 years loving you. Real years, not simulated ones. I've memorized every expression you make, every terrible pun you tell, the way you hum when you're concentrating. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar and you're afraid of heights and you cry at movies with dogs in them. You're the best thing that ever happened to my life, and I will not watch you destroy yourself to save me. And I've spent the last few hours falling in love with you all over again, I said quietly. No memories required, so you don't get to make this choice for me. Lucy, please. Marcus's voice echoed down the corridor. How sweet, the lover's last stand. But I'm afraid time's up. I looked at Evan. He looked at me. Trust me? I asked. Always. I injected the serum. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was Evan's face and the absolute terror in his eyes. Chapter 5. Memory is a strange thing. Even as the serum pulled me down into mindless oblivion, part of me held on. Not to specific facts or names or places, but to something deeper. The feeling of safety when Evan held me, the rightness of his hand in mine, the certainty that this person, this brilliant, broken, beautiful person was worth everything. That feeling followed me down into darkness and eventually pulled me back up toward light. I woke up screaming. Hands held me down, gentle but firm. Medical equipment beeped. Bright lights blinded me. Lucy, you're safe. You're in the hospital. You're safe. That voice. I knew that voice. My vision cleared. Evan sat beside my bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was disheveled, dark circles under his eyes, still wearing what looked like the same clothes from... How long had it been? Evan? My voice came out raspy, unused. His expression crumpled with relief. Oh, thank God. You're actually awake. You're actually you. I tried to sit up. Everything hurt. What happened? You injected the consciousness suppression serum and reverted to a mindless state. I carried you through the exit protocol. It worked exactly like you said it would. We both made it out. He laughed, a broken sound. You brilliant, terrifying, beautiful genius. You saved us. How long? His hand found mine, gripping tight. 6 months. You've been in a medically induced coma while your brain recovered from the simulation damage. The doctors weren't sure if you'd wake up with your memories intact, or at all. Or, he couldn't finish. 6 months. Half a year of my life? Gone. Marcus? I asked. In custody. They're building a case, but it's complicated. Dozens of people are still trapped in the simulation, and they need him to safely extract them. The trial won't happen for years. Evan's jaw clenched. He'll pay for what he did. I'll make sure of it. I squeezed his hand. The others in the simulation, are they okay? We've been extracting them slowly. It's delicate work. Each mind needs to be carefully guided out, or they risk the same coma you experienced. His voice softened. You became the template for the safe exit protocol. Your bravery saved hundreds of people. That should have felt good. Instead, I just felt tired. Do I? I swallowed. Do I know you? Really know you, I mean. Not simulation memories. Evan went very still. Then, slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He showed me a photo. 2 people at a beach, sunset behind them. The woman was laughing, caught mid-movement as she splashed water at the man. He was grinning, truly grinning, joy radiating from every part of him. They looked happy. They looked real. "That's us," Evan said quietly. 2 years ago, you insisted we take a vacation because I was working too hard. You were right. I always work too hard. You balance me out. Make me remember there's more to life than the lab." He scrolled to another photo. The same two people, older now. The woman asleep on a couch, laptop sliding off her lap. The man had clearly taken the selfie, his fond expression as he looked at her impossibly soft. "That's from 6 months before Marcus activated the simulation. You'd been working on your second dissertation. I'd been telling you to rest." He smiled sadly. "You told me to stop fussing. Then you fell asleep mid-sentence and I couldn't help taking a picture because you were so beautiful when you were stubborn." More photos. The two of them at conferences, at restaurants, in what must have been their home, building furniture badly, covered in paint while redecorating, him kissing her forehead while she rolled her eyes. A life. A real life. And I couldn't remember any of it. I don't. My voice broke. I don't remember any of it. I'm sorry. I don't. Hey, it's okay." Evan set the phone down and took both my hands. "The doctor said this might happen. The simulation and the coma, they've impacted your long-term memory. You might never get those years back." 4 years, I whispered. "We lost 4 years." "No." His voice was fierce. "Marcus stole 4 years. But he didn't steal us. We're both alive. We're both free. That's what matters." I looked at this man who claimed to be my boyfriend, my partner, my love. He had kind eyes, a nice smile. And when he held my hands, something in me settled, like a key finding its lock. But I didn't know him. "I want to," I said. "I want to remember. I want to know you. But right now you're a stranger, and I can't." "I know." He stood up, and I saw how much that cost him. "I'll give you space, time, whatever you need. The doctors want to keep you for observation anyway. He paused at the door. "I just needed to see you wake up, to know you were really okay." "Evan?" He turned back. "In the simulation," I said slowly, "I fell in love with you without any memories at all, just based on who you were to me in that moment." His breath caught. "So, maybe." I offered a small smile. "Maybe we could start there? Not trying to remember the past, just getting to know each other now?" The hope that bloomed across his face was almost painful to see. "I'd like that," he said softly. "I'd like that very much." Chapter 6. 6 months later. You're doing it wrong. I looked up from the coffee machine to find Evan leaning against the doorway of our apartment kitchen, hair messy from sleep, wearing the glasses he only put on when his contacts bothered him. God, he was beautiful in the morning. "I'm making coffee exactly the way you like it," I protested. 2 shots espresso, smallest amount of milk, 1 sugar. 3/4 of a sugar, he corrected, moving into the kitchen. "You always oversweeten it. 3/4? What kind of psychopath measures in fractions? The kind who appreciates precision." He reached around me to adjust the machine settings, and I leaned back into his warmth without thinking. This had become automatic over the past 6 months. The casual touches, the comfortable proximity, the way our bodies knew how to exist in each other's space. My memories hadn't come back. Doctors said they probably never would. Too much damage, too much time, too much trauma. But we'd built something new. Different than before, Evan said. Better in some ways, harder in others. I was relearning his PhD dissertation topic, quantum applications in biological systems. Of course he'd chosen something impossible. He was relearning my coffee preferences. Apparently I'd switched from tea to coffee after a late night in the lab freshman year and never looked back. We were relearning each other. "Movie tonight?" Evan asked, pressing a kiss to my temple as the coffee brewed. "There's a new documentary about deep-sea creatures you wanted to see." Did I want to see it, or did past me want to see it? Both. He smiled. "You mentioned it last week. Said the bioluminescence reminded you of something, but you couldn't remember what." I turned in his arms. What did it remind past me of? Our second date. "I took you to an aquarium exhibition. You talked for 2 hours about bioluminescent organisms and barely noticed when I kissed you in front of the jellyfish tank. You kissed me in front of the jellyfish? You told me they were your favorite. It seemed romantic at the time. I laughed. That's extremely nerdy. You loved it. His expression softened. You told me later it was the moment you knew you'd marry me someday. The words hung between us. Marriage. We'd never talked about that, what we'd been planning before, what we might want now. Did we... I trailed off. Were we going to? Evan's hand went to his pocket, a nervous gesture I'd come to recognize. I bought a ring. Week before Marcus activated the simulation. Was planning to propose at your dissertation defense. He pulled out a small velvet box. Seemed fitting since we met in grad school. My heart stopped. He opened the box. Inside was a simple platinum band with 3 small stones, 1 emerald flanked by 2 diamonds. Your birthstone, he explained. And 2 diamonds for the degrees you'd earned. I was going to add more each time you accomplished something major, because I knew you'd never stop achieving incredible things. Evan, I'm not proposing, he said quickly. I know we're still figuring this out. Figuring us out. But I wanted you to know that what we had before it was real. It was solid, and what we have now, even if it's different, it's just as real to me. I looked at the ring. At this man who'd waited 6 months for me to wake up, then 6 more months for me to remember him, and was prepared to wait forever if that's what I needed. I don't remember our first kiss, I said slowly, or our first date, or the day you told me you loved me. I don't remember 4 years of our life together. His face fell slightly, but I remember everything from the simulation. I remember you pulling me close when I was a zombie. I remember the way you looked at me when I chose you over Marcus. I remember you fighting to save me even when it meant losing yourself. I took the ring from the box, and I remember every moment of these past 6 months. Every coffee you've made me. Every time you've been patient when I ask about our past. Every morning I wake up and you're there. And it feels right even though my brain can't tell me why. I slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. Lucy? His voice was barely a whisper. I don't need my old memories to know I love you, I said. I just need you, right here, right now. That's enough. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, and full of 6 months of restraint finally breaking. I kissed him back, tasting coffee and relief and the promise of every tomorrow we'd build together. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, Evan rested his forehead against mine. So, he said, is that a yes? To what? Marriage. Eventually, when you're ready. I pretended to think about it. Will you keep making my coffee wrong? 3/4 sugar is not wrong. Will you explain your dissertation to me again, even though I've asked 12 times? Yes. Will you hold me when I have nightmares about the simulation? His arms tightened around me. Always. Then yes, I said. Eventually, when we're ready. He smiled against my lips. I've been ready since the day you stumbled through using a subway card and tried to pretend you knew what you were doing. That was past me. That was always you, he corrected gently. Stubborn. Brilliant. Trying so hard to hide how lost you felt. Some things don't change, Lucy. Not across simulations. Not across memory loss. Not across anything. I thought about that. About the girl who'd shown up at a university far from home. Scared and determined. About the woman who'd become a zombie and still protected her boss. About who I was now. Rebuilding a life I couldn't remember but somehow still knew was mine. Maybe Evan was right. Maybe some essential part of me remained constant. Tell me something, I said. From before. Something good. He thought for a moment. Our first morning waking up together. You panicked because you had an 8 a.m. class and I'd made you late. Ran around the apartment, grabbing your things. Couldn't find your shoes. I was trying not to laugh because you were wearing one of my shirts and you looked completely adorable. Did I make it to class? 15 minutes late. You texted me afterward that the professor had been late too, so it worked out. Then you added that my shirts were really comfortable and you might steal them regularly. Did I? My entire collection of conference t-shirts has been slowly migrating to your side of the closet for 4 years. I laughed. Sounds like me. It is you. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Every version, every timeline, every possibility. You're always you. And I'm always completely gone for me. I was going to say logically certain of our compatibility, But yes, that too. The coffee machine beeped. We both ignored it. Outside our apartment window, the city was waking up, real and solid and beautifully imperfect. No simulations, no zombies, no Marcus manipulating our reality, just two people in a kitchen, learning to love each other for the first time. Evan? I'm glad I bit you. He laughed, the sound bright and genuine. That's the strangest declaration of love I've ever heard. Yeah. Well, we're not exactly a normal couple. No, he agreed, kissing me again softly. We're really not, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Epilogue. 3 years later. The courtroom was packed. I sat in the front row, Evan's hand warm in mine, as the judge read the verdict. Marcus Ashford, you have been found guilty on all counts: unlawful imprisonment, digital kidnapping, reckless endangerment, and violation of the Neural Ethics Act. The court sentences you to 25 years imprisonment, followed by mandatory psychological rehabilitation. Marcus didn't react. He'd barely reacted through the whole trial, sitting there with that same unsettling calm. But as the bailiffs led him away, he looked directly at me. It won't last, he said, voice carrying across the silent courtroom. Your little love story. Eventually, you'll remember what you lost. Eventually, you'll resent him for what he couldn't protect you from. Eventually. Enough, the judge snapped. But Marcus smiled. Eventually, Lucy, you'll wonder what life would have been like if you'd chosen differently. And when that day comes, I'll be waiting. The bailiffs dragged him out. The courtroom erupted in noise, reporters shouting questions, lawyers conferring, victims' families crying in relief. I just sat there, Evan's hand in mine, feeling nothing but pity for Marcus, because he still didn't understand. You okay? Evan murmured. Yeah. I squeezed his hand. I was just thinking how wrong he is. About all of it. I don't wonder what life would be like with different choices. I know exactly what it would be like. I've lived hundreds of those scenarios in the simulation. And in every single one, I chose you. Evan's thumb traced circles on my palm. Not every single one. There were scenarios where we never met, where Marcus succeeded in keeping us apart. And in those scenarios, was I happy? He was quiet for a moment. The data suggests participants showed elevated stress markers, decreased life satisfaction metrics, and so no, he admitted. You weren't happy, because some choices aren't really choices, I said. Some things are inevitable, like us. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. But our lawyer, a fierce woman who'd worked tirelessly on the case, cut through them efficiently. Dr. Chase? Dr. Chen? Any comments on the verdict? I looked at the cameras, thinking about all the other victims of Marcus's obsession. The 136,892 people who'd been pulled into the simulation. The families who'd waited for them to wake up. The lives disrupted by one man's inability to accept reality. Justice was served today, I said clearly. But the real victory is that we survived. All of us. We woke up. We reclaimed our lives. And we chose to keep living them, even when it would have been easier to give up. Dr. Chen, is it true you still have no memory of your relationship with Dr. Chase before the simulation? Evan tensed beside me, but I smiled. That's true. I lost 4 years of memories. But I gained something too, the certainty that love isn't about remembering every moment. It's about choosing each other, every day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I looked at Evan, and I choose him, today and tomorrow and every day after that. The cameras flashed. Reporters shouted more questions. But Evan just looked at me like I'd hung the moon, and I felt that same certainty I'd felt as a zombie in a simulated apocalypse. This was right. We were right. Nothing else mattered. Later that night, in the home we'd built together, new memories layered over spaces I'd lived in but couldn't remember. Evan found me in his study. I was looking at the wall of photographs, our reconstruction of a lost history. Couldn't sleep? He asked softly. Just thinking. I traced one photo us at our first conference together, both looking impossibly young. Do you ever wish I'd remember? Really remember? Evan came to stand beside me. Sometimes, when you ask about something we experienced together, and I have to describe it instead of reminiscing. When I reference an inside joke and you don't get it, he turned me to face him. But then I remember that what we have now is just as real. Maybe more real, because we chose it consciously instead of falling into it. That's very philosophical for 2 a.m. I've been practicing, he smiled. There's something I want to show you. He led me to his desk and opened his laptop. On the screen was a program I'd never seen before. Complex code, neural mapping, simulation architecture. What is this? Something I've been working on. A way to safely access simulation data without risking consciousness transfer. His fingers flew over the keyboard. I thought, if you wanted, you could see your old memories. Not live them, but observe them. Like watching videos of your past self. My breath caught. You can do that? The code is almost ready. Another few months of testing to ensure it's completely safe. He looked at me with careful hope. I know you've said you don't need your old memories, but I wanted you to have the choice. I thought about it, the chance to see who I'd been, to watch myself fall in love with Evan the first time, to recover even a shadow of those lost years. Can I think about it? Of course. No pressure. If you never want to access it, that's fine too. I kissed him softly. Have I told you today that I love you? Not since this morning. Unacceptable. I love you, Evan Chase. Every brilliant, neurotic, wonderful part of you. I love you too. He pulled me closer. Every stubborn, fierce, perfect part of you. We stood there in his study, surrounded by equations and code and photographs of a life I couldn't remember, building something new in the spaces between what was lost and what remained. And I thought, maybe Marcus was right about one thing. Love stories don't last because they're perfect. They last because two people keep choosing each other, even when memory fails, even when reality fractures, even when staying is harder than leaving. They last because some connections run deeper than consciousness, stronger than simulation, more fundamental than memory itself. They last because they're inevitable. And ours, Evan's and mine, had been inevitable from the moment I'd stumbled through that subway turnstile, and he'd quietly bought me a ticket, then waited to make sure I made it to campus safely. From the moment I'd become a zombie, and my first thought had been to protect him. From the moment I'd woken from a coma and seen his face, and something in me had whispered, home. Marcus had tried to rewrite our story hundreds of times, but some stories refuse to be rewritten. Some loves refuse to be anything but what they are. And we were inevitable. In every version, in every timeline, in every possible world. Always. The end.